Hello everyone. Gold and silver. Yes, it looks nice, looks beautiful, and no, this is just a picture I got off the internet. The reason I want to bring this out, Jehovah's Witnesses thinks that, or they've been taught that the more time you spend with the person you're teaching, more stronger the truth is. Is it true that you can learn truth from all the publications of the Watchtower? I'm going to play an audio, and then after that, we go from there.
Revealed by means of fire, and the fire itself will prove what sort of work each one has built. Now, what did Paul mean by that? Well, let's consider the background. We know Paul was a missionary, which meant he would often have to travel from city to city, and he would have to leave the work that he had started for others to finish. Well, apparently, some were not doing a very good job following up, so Paul was trying to help them to become better teachers. And to do so, he used this illustration. He contrasts two different kinds of groups of building material. One group of gold, silver, and precious stone, and the other of wood, hay, and straw. Now, of course, a building can be built from either group, but if you wanted to build a building that could withstand a fire, which group would you use? Well, the answer is just as obvious today as it was back in Paul's day. We want to build with the most durable materials that we possibly can. But we're mistaken if we think we're making it easier for our students by telling them what to do. Sure, it may be easier for us. Clearly, it requires less skill. But then building with wood requires far less skill than building with gold. So then if we want our work to last, we need to go beyond a simple recitation of facts. We must reason on the scriptures. We must help them to understand how these Bible truths ought to change their lives. Now, what happens if we don't do that? What happens if we don't build with fire-resistant materials? Well, let's continue. See what Paul has to say here, and starting in verse 14, we continue. He says, if anyone's work that he has built on remains, he will receive a reward. If anyone's work is burned up, he will suffer loss, but he himself will be saved, yet if so, it will be as through fire. Yes, it can be very painful to work hard to help someone to become a disciple, only to see them leave the truth. In fact, Paul likens it to losing everything in a fire. Now, what does that fire represent? Well, we might think the fire represents violent persecution. And to be sure, in some cases, that could be true. But did you notice there that Paul said each one's work would face this fire? Well, surely not all Christians face violent persecution. So then that fire must represent any form of pressure, any form of temptation that might cause a person to lose his faith. For some, it might be the temptation to view entertainment that has violence, immorality. For others, it might be the temptation of abusing drugs, alcohol. For still others, it might be the pressure of leaving false religion, leaving old worldly associates behind. The point is that fire can vary from person to person. But one thing is sure. Our Bible students will have to face that fire, the testing of their faith. But if a person's heart is filled with love for Jehovah, he will stand firm. Now, what specific fire was Paul addressing in Corinth? Well, as it turns out, some in the congregation had attached themselves to men. Some were saying, I belong to Apollos. Others are saying, no, I belong to Paul. You see, because they had a strong relationship with men, they never developed a strong relationship with Jehovah God.
Okay, I'm going to stop right here. He mentioned about putting faith in men. What has almost 8 million people all over the world has done? They have put faith into 7 men claiming to be God's child, claiming that anyone spends time listening to their teaching, observing their commandments, their laws, they will be like gold and silver. Will be harder to burn because gold and silver, you burn it, it goes back to its liquid form, gold and silver. People, you have to understand one thing. Learning God's law from the Bible is all you need. When you compare literature or publications, or they call them Bible aids, to learn the Bible, then you putting your faith into their teachings. Then you're going to start putting the Bible down. Spend less time going through the Bible and learning the Bible. Their publications looks like gold, looks like refined silver. But it's just the purity of the literature. It's a lie and a fraud. Or in this case, we can call it fool's gold and fool's silver. You can break it with a hammer, and what it looks like, fake gold, fake silver. You cannot put your trust in the Watchtower to learn the teaching because it's not there. I mean, if you want to find pure gold, pure silver in teaching, then choose yourself a Bible. Choose yourself any Bible, King James, anything. And stay away from these Bibles that's been published by the Watchtower. These here, it's like gold and silver because it has more truth and honesty. And these Bibles is fool's gold, fool's silver. It's not real. It brittle and it breaks. How it does, it rips your family apart. It makes you to die on the operating table. It destroys your family. It turns good men and good women into hateful people. It turns them into murderers. People goes out killing people with guns and commit crimes. These Bibles is causing good people to do all these bad things, then this Bible cannot be the word of God. When they said their truth set them free from false teaching, bad past, why in the world there is so much badness in Watchtower community, religion? I even made a couple of videos on that. One of them is called Jehovah's Witnesses Gone Bad, even on their bad days. I have got articles, different places that Jehovah's Witnesses has gone completely crazy. Why? Because they think their literature and their teaching is almost like fine gold, fine silver. But it's not. And that's the sad part about it. Poison. Destroy families. Cute little cat. I'm going to bring this out. Jehovah J.W. Kitty, will you look up the reference to 1975 on your Watchtower CD-ROM? No. I talked to Mike and Kim last night. They had a friend. He called them up and let them know last night was the anniversary, almost 40 years ago, that September 5th, sundown, 1975 ended. Armageddon was going to start and the 1,000-year reign of Christ start. September 5th, 1975. And the sad part about it, this is a cat. So Jehovah's Witnesses, are you smarter than an animal? Smaller than all the animals on the earth? And you cannot look up the truth about 1975 to see what we have been told, what we have found. We got audio, we have books, magazines to prove that the 1975 happened. And I remember some things, and most people remember more than I did. And I found this cartoon. A guy is got his brain working overtime. Why? Look, he got this book, he got that book, he got this over here, he got that over there. What does it say? A Jehovah's Witness reading the Watchtower literature instead of reading the Bible to learn the truth. People, I have done that. I took a challenge on YouTube. A guy said, put down the weight magazines, put down your books, and just read the Bible. You'll find the truth. Prove the Watchtower is not God's chosen people. And I did. I found so much proof in the Bible. Even the poison Bible, I found proof of this false religion. Now, heed the truth. Put down the literature. Just read the Bible. There's the answers. There's the gold. There's the silver. You don't need the Watchtower to teach you the truth of the Bible. You have the power in your hands by picking up the Bible, not the literature. Thank you, and have a nice day.